Once upon a time, in a peaceful forest where the trees whispered secrets and the breeze carried songs, something very strange happened. All the colors had vanished. The emerald leaves turned gray, the golden sunflowers lost their shine, and even the rainbow trout in the stream became as dull as pebbles. The animals gathered in worry, their hearts heavy with confusion. That's when Detective Pip, a clever squirrel with a keen eye for mysteries, tucked his notebook under his arm and set out to solve the case. Pip scampered through the forest, his bushy tail twitching with curiosity. He questioned the bluebirds, who sadly admitted their feathers had faded. He asked the roses, who drooped without their crimson petals. Even the cheerful daisies could only sigh, their sunny faces now pale. Pip scratched his head. Where could the colors have gone? Then, as he passed the old oak tree, he noticed something peculiar. A tiny, shimmering trail led to a hidden hollow in the trunk. Cautiously, Pip peeked inside and gasped. There, curled up in a cozy nest of moss, was a sleepy little chameleon named Milo. His scales were flickering like a rainbow, shifting from red to blue to green. "Aha!" Pip exclaimed softly. "So you're the one who borrowed all the colors." Milo blinked sleepily. "I didn't mean to take them all," he yawned. "I just wanted to make my dreams brighter." With a gentle smile, Pip explained how the forest missed its colors. Understanding, Milo stretched, and like magic, the hues drifted back to where they belonged. The leaves turned green, the flowers bloomed bold, and the world shimmered once more. As the forest sighed in relief, Pip tucked Milo into his mossy bed. "Sweet dreams, little friend," he whispered. And under the twinkling stars, the forest settled into a peaceful, colorful slumber. The end once upon a time, in a peaceful forest where the trees whispered secrets to the wind, and the brook hummed lullabies over smooth stones, something very strange happened. One morning, the world woke up not in vibrant hues, but in shades of gray. The emerald leaves had faded to dull silver. The golden sunflowers drooped like pale ghosts, and even the rosy cheeks of the woodland creatures had turned ashen. The forest had lost its colors, and without them, the joy seemed to drain away too. That's when Detective Pip, a clever little squirrel with a bushy tail and bright, curious eyes, decided to take action. Pip loved solving mysteries almost as much as he loved acorns, and this was the most puzzling one yet. With a tiny satchel slung over his shoulder, filled with his trusty notebook, and a single pencil stub, he set off down the winding forest path, determined to uncover the truth. His first stop was the old oak tree where Misty the owl perched, her usually golden feathers now a soft, silvery gray. "Misty," Pip asked, scratching notes with his pencil, "when did you first notice the colors were gone?" Misty blinked her round, solemn eyes. "Last night, just before moonrise," she hooted softly. The sky turned from deep blue to shadowy gray, and by morning, everything had faded. Pip tapped his chin thoughtfully. That was a clue something had happened under the cover of darkness. Next, Pip scampered to the shimmering pond where Luna the frog usually lounged on her lily pad, her bright green skin now a dull, mossy shade. "Luna," Pip asked, "did you hear anything unusual last night?" Luna croaked softly, her voice like a ripple in the water. "I thought I heard whispers, not the usual wind or rustling leaves, but something secretive, almost like giggling." Pip's tail twitched with excitement. Whispers and giggles in the night. That sounded suspiciously like mischief. As he wandered deeper into the forest, Pip noticed something peculiar, tiny footprints, almost invisible in the soft earth. They were small and light, like they belonged to someone who barely touched the ground. Following them led him to a cluster of toadstools arranged in a perfect circle. Fairy rings. Pip's heart leaped. Everyone knew fairy rings were magical places, gateways to unseen worlds. Could the fairies have taken the colors? Just then, a soft glow flickered between the trees. Pip tiptoed closer, peering through the ferns, and gasped. There, in a hidden glen, danced a trouble of tiny, mischievous fairies, their laughter like wind chimes. But what caught Pip's eye was what they carried. Each fairy held a jar shimmering with stolen colors. One glowed ruby red, another shimmered sapphire blue, and still others pulsed with sunny gold and leafy green. The fairies had been collecting them like treasures. Pip cleared his throat, stepping forward. "Excuse me," he said politely, "but those colors belong to the forest." The fairies froze, their wings quivering with surprise. The smallest one, her hair like spun moonlight, fluttered closer. "We didn't mean to cause trouble," she admitted. "We just wanted to make the fairy realm as beautiful as your world." Pip smiled. "But the forest needs its colors too. Without them, everything feels sad." The fairies exchanged guilty glances, then nodded. "You're right," the little fairy said. "We'll give them back." With a wave of their tiny hands, the fairies opened their jars, releasing the colors like a swirling rainbow. Instantly, the world brightened, the grass flushed emerald, the flowers burst into pinks and purples, and even Pip's own fur took on its rich chestnut hue again. The fairies giggled, their own realm now glowing softly from borrowed starlight and dewdrop silver. "Thank you," Pip said, bowing slightly. "Now the forest can sleep peacefully again." And so, beneath a sky painted in twilight blues and golds, Detective Pip curled up in his cozy tree hollow, notebook tucked safely beside him. The forest hummed with color once more, and as the stars blinked awake above, Pip closed his eyes, knowing tomorrow would bring new adventures. But for now, it was time to rest. The end once upon a time, in a peaceful forest where the trees swayed gently in the breeze, and the sunlight dappled the ground in golden patches, something very strange had happened. Overnight, all the colors had vanished. The flowers lost their petals' bright hues. The leaves turned dull and gray, and even the sky above seemed to have faded to a pale, washed-out blue. The animals whispered in hushed tones, their hearts heavy with worry. That's when Detective Pip, a clever little squirrel with a keen eye for mysteries, decided to take matters into his own tiny paws. Pip twitched his bushy tail as he surveyed the colorless forest. "This won't do at all," he muttered. "Without colors, how will the butterflies know which flowers to visit? How will the birds find their way home?" Determined to solve the mystery, Pip set off down the winding path, his nose twitching with curiosity. His first stop was the meadow, where the tall grasses usually swayed in shades of green and gold. Now everything was a dreary gray. Pip scurried up to a dandelion, its stem drooping sadly. "Pardon me," Pip said politely, "but have you seen what happened to your lovely yellow petals?" The dandelion sighed. "One moment they were bright and cheerful, and the next, poof, gone just like that." Pip frowned. Very suspicious. As he pondered this clue, a soft rustling came from behind a nearby oak tree. Pip's ears perked up. "Who's there?" he called. Slowly, a small, trembling hedgehog peeked out. "Oh, Detective Pip, I'm so glad it's you," the hedgehog said. "I saw something strange last night, a shadow moving through the trees. It was carrying something, a big bag, I think, and wherever it went, the colors disappeared." Pip's eyes widened. "A shadow, you say? Did you see where it went?" The hedgehog nodded nervously toward the whispering pines at the edge of the forest. With a determined flick of his tail, Pip hurried toward the pines. The air grew cooler as he stepped beneath their towering branches, and the soft crunch of pine needles underfoot was the only sound. Then, ahead, Pip spotted something peculiar, a faint shimmer, like a ripple in the air. Cautiously, he crept closer and gasped. There, tucked between the roots of an ancient pine, was a door. A tiny, crooked door, covered in intricate carvings of leaves and stars. Pip's heart raced as he tapped on the door with one careful paw. To his surprise, it swung open, revealing a winding staircase that spiraled downward into the earth. Taking a deep breath, Pip descended, his paws pattering softly on the smooth stone steps. The air smelled of damp earth and something sweet like honey and lavender. At the bottom of the stairs, Pip found himself in a cavern bathed in a soft, golden glow. Strange, luminous mushrooms lined the walls, casting flickering light over stacks of jars and bottles. And in the center of it all stood a tiny, wrinkled old troll, bustling about with a paintbrush in one hand. Pip blinked. The troll was dipping his brush into jars of shimmering liquid, red, blue, yellow, and swirling them onto a canvas so large it nearly touched the ceiling. "Excuse me," Pip squeaked. The troll spun around, his eyes wide with surprise. "Ah, a visitor. And a squirrel, no less. How delightful," he cackled. Pip cleared his throat. "Sir, I couldn't help but notice. Well, The entire forest has lost its colors, and I suspect you might know something about it. The troll stroked his long beard thoughtfully. Colors, you say? Oh dear, I may have borrowed a teeny bit. Borrowed, Pip repeated, his tail bristling. The troll sighed. You see, I'm an artist, been painting for centuries. But lately, I ran out of paints. So I may have collected a few colors from the forest. Just a little here and there. Pip crossed his arms. But without colors, the whole forest is fading. The flowers, the trees, they need them. The troll's face fell. Oh, I hadn't thought of that. He looked down at his jars, each one glowing faintly with stolen brilliance. I suppose I could return them. Slowly, he uncorked the jars and tipped them onto his enormous canvas. The colors swirled into a whirlpool, then lifted into the air like delicate wisps of smoke. Pip watched in amazement as the colors flowed upward, spiraling out of the cave and back into the world above. By the time Pip and the troll climbed back up to the forest, the change was already happening. The flowers blushed pink and yellow again. The leaves regained their emerald sheen, and the sky deepened into a rich, dreamy blue. The troll let out a wistful sigh. It is rather lovely, isn't it? Pip smiled. It is indeed. But next time maybe ask before borrowing. The troll chuckled and winked. Fair enough, little detective. As evening settled over the forest, the animals gathered to celebrate. Fireflies flickered like living stars, weaving through the trees, and the air hummed with the gentle buzz of crickets. Pip curled up in his cozy nest, his belly full of acorns, and his heart full of contentment. The colors were back where they belonged, vibrant, alive, and painting the world in soft, sleepy hues. And as the moon rose high above, casting its silvery glow over the forest, the wind whispered through the leaves like a lullaby, carrying with it the sweet scent of blooming flowers and the promise of peaceful dreams. The mystery was solved, the colors restored, and all was right in the world once more. The end once upon a time, in the heart of whispering woods, where the trees hummed soft lullabies, and the fireflies flickered like tiny stars. Something very strange had happened. All the colors had vanished overnight. The emerald green of the leaves, the sapphire blue of the streams, even the golden glow of the sun, everything had turned to shades of gray. The forest creatures gathered in hushed confusion, their whispers rustling like dry leaves. That's when Detective Pip, the cleverest squirrel in the woods, flicked his bushy tail and declared, "I'll find out where the colors have gone." Pip scampered along the muted paths, his sharp eyes scanning every shadow. He questioned Old Owl, who blinked solemnly from his perch. "Last night," the owl murmured, "I saw a silvery mist drifting through the branches. It carried a melody soft and sleepy, like a song without words." Pip nodded thoughtfully. A clue. Next, he visited Bumblebee Bella, who buzzed sadly inside her colorless hive. The flowers lost their scent too, she sighed. It's as if the world forgot how to sing. Pip's whiskers twitched. This wasn't just about colors. It was about joy itself fading away. Then, near the sleepy brook, Pip found something peculiar. A single, shimmering petal tangled in the reeds. It pulsed faintly with a rosy hue, like a heartbeat of color in the gloom. Pip cradled it gently. This came from the glowing glade, he whispered. The glowing glade was the most magical place in Whispering Woods, where colors danced on the air like fireflies. But no one had visited it in moons, for fear of waking the Dreamweaver, the gentle spirit who wove dreams for all creatures. Could she be involved? With the petal as his guide, Pip ventured deeper into the woods, where the trees arched like cathedral ceilings, and the air smelled of lavender and twilight. There, in a clearing bathed in silver mist, sat the Dreamweaver, her cloak woven from starlight, her hands moving gracefully as she spun threads of dreams. But her loom was tangled, the threads knotted and dull. "Oh dear," she murmured, her voice like wind chimes. "I've been so busy weaving night after night, I forgot to mend the threads of color. Without them, dreams fade, and so does the world." Pip's heart swelled with understanding. "Then let's fix it together," he said. The Dreamweaver smiled gratefully, and together they carefully untangled the threads. Pip fetched a dewdrop to smooth the knots, while the Dreamweaver hummed the lost melody Old Owl had heard. Slowly, the threads began to glow, first a soft pink, then a warm amber, until every hue shimmered back to life. The mist dissolved, and color rushed through the woods like a sigh of relief. The leaves blushed green, the brook giggled blue, and the sun spilled gold over the treetops. Back in the clearing, the creatures cheered as Bella's wings flashed like stained glass, and Old Owl's feathers gleamed bronze again. The Dreamweaver bowed to Pip. "You've reminded us all that joy needs tending, like a garden," she said. "Rest now tonight. The dreams will be vivid and sweet." Pip curled up in his cozy hollow, watching the last glow of sunset paint the sky. The forest whispered its thanks, and as the stars blinked awake, he felt the gentle pull of sleep. The colors were safe, the world was whole, and all was right beneath the quiet moon. The end once upon a time, in a quiet corner of the forest, where the trees whispered secrets, and the fireflies danced like tiny stars. Detective Pip, the squirrel, curled his bushy tail around himself and smiled. After solving the mystery of the missing colors, the world had returned to its usual vibrant glow. The flowers bloomed in shades of pink and gold. The river sparkled blue under the setting sun, and even the shadows stretched long and purple across the mossy ground. Pip sat atop his favorite oak branch, watching as the last light of day painted the sky in soft stripes of apricot and lavender. The forest hummed with contentment. The crickets sang their evening song. The leaves rustled in agreement, and the air smelled of sweet earth and dew. Pip's heart swelled with pride, knowing he had helped his friends and restored beauty to their home. As the stars blinked awake one by one, Pip nestled into a bed of curled leaves, his fluffy tail tucked snugly around him like a blanket. The night wrapped itself around the forest, gentle as a lullaby, and Pip sighed happily. He thought of the butterflies with their bright wings, the berries blushing red on their stems, and the mushrooms dotting the ground like tiny umbrellas, all because he had listened, searched, and believed in the magic of curiosity. The wind carried a final, sleepy rustle through the branches, as if whispering, "Good job, Detective Pip," and his eyes grew heavy. The forest settled into peaceful darkness, but this time it was not afraid, because somewhere beneath the starlight, the colors breathed softly, waiting for tomorrow's light to wake them again. And so, with warmth in his heart and dreams full of rainbows, Pip drifted off to sleep. The end.